Pod is go, repeat.
Okay.
We have pod off. Welcome everybody to That's Just Ridiculous.
With Paul,
And Guy.
although I'm Guy, I said.
And I'm Paul. But hey, who cares? Guy, what about God?
Oh, I believe in God.
Do you?
Oh, yeah.
Is it a man?
I don't think you have to be that. I hear it in my, he is in my,
Imagination?
yeah, in my mind.
It should be in your heart, really, Guy.
No, actually, a bit of both. Because if you don't believe in God, you go mad.
Is God... No,
And a lot of the remedies for madness is in believing in the divine.
Is God everywhere?
No, he's inside me.
Is he in your knob?
Remember what?
Your knob? Is God in your knob?
No.
Why not?
Paul, where are you going with this?
Just exploring the topic.
I'm not up for a heavy theological debate because what that is like just trying to tear God down.
No, it's not.
Like
I never said... You haven't asked me that question.
Is God in your knob?
Not that question. Of course he's not in my knob.
Well, what did you
The
ask
devil
me?
is in my knob.
Oh, God.
God,
We've gone
where
down a
is-
cul-de-sac.
Eh?
Now, here's the thing. Tell me if I'm wrong. You are very good on megacidal dictators and appalling regimes which treat their people very badly. And I seem to remember being told that most of the ones that were the worst had dispensed with God quite early on in the programme. Not the Roman Catholic Church.
But yeah, there's a clue there as well to one of the most homicidal and massivist regimes ever, which was Rome.
Yeah, they had gods.
Yeah, they had loads of gods, and then eventually they became the Catholic Church.
Okay, well, that's the exception that
Bishop
proves the rule.
Irenaeus and Constantine.
But Stalin wasn't much one for getting down on his knees, was he? And,
no, he was God.
Exactly. And when that happens, you go mad. And I think a lot of people who are mad, and when I go mad, I often pray on my knees by my bed.
Do you?
And and I'm feeling mad, and I go, get me through today. I need your help. Take my hand. Thank you for all the lovely things. Please help me now.
That's so sweet, Guy.
And then I sit there for a little bit more. No, I kneel there for a bit longer. And then the day rushes in and I stand up and I go about my business. But I do that whenever I need some help. And God, it's annoying. It's very annoying when people say my prayers were answered, or it really helps. But it definitely helps me. I never have I ever tried to persuade you to do that?
No,
To be honest, you could probably benefit from it.
but you don't need to. How do you know I don't do that anyway?
From your behaviour.
Shall I tell you something?
Godless.
One time, after my club ended in about '96, I was in Dorset, and I was very, very sad and upset about what had happened, and I felt very bereft. And I said to myself as I was walking through this field, I just don't want to be here anymore. I think I know what to do. I'm just gonna... I thought there's loads of ways. You don't have to throw yourself under a train. You just have to stop caring about yourself, and then you will die anyway. And I realised that. I thought, well, that's all I have to do. I can drink myself to death, or I'll just, something will happen, and I'll be free of all this. And then I stood in this field, and I thought, there's nothing here. And I said, well, this is your last chance. If there's anything there, you better show yourself now.
Well, you asked God to personally perform for you.
I asked something, just to give me a sign, I suppose.
The sign was all around you, Paul.
Yeah, but then what happened next was really quite strange. Something pushed me onto the floor, face down onto the floor, and I
Was
had
there a cow in the field?
and I heard a rushing sound, and I thought, fuck, I'm having an acid flashback. And then I realised that there was this really bright light, and it was hurting me. Not just my eyes, it was hurting every part of me. And I could see, it was like I had x-ray vision, I could see through the earth. And I knew there was something in front of me that was really bright, like a column of light. And I was fucking terrified, absolutely terrified, petrified. And I just kept saying, please leave me alone, please leave me alone, please go away, you're hurting me. I just kept saying that over and over again. And I said, I don't know what you are. And this voice just said, you know exactly what I am. And I just said, and it wasn't a human voice or a voice that I heard. This probably sounds insane. And then I said,
let's hear it all before we make a judgment.
What do you want? And it just said, live and don't be afraid. And then it just gradually, really slowly withdrew, painfully slowly. And then I was just laid in the grass, face down in the grass, and I got up and I looked into the sky, and it was weird. There was like, I could almost see it in the sky, this trail in the sky. And I just thought, what the fuck just happened? But I tell you something, I didn't think about killing myself after that.
So for that alien, it was mission accomplished.
Whatever it was.
They'd saved Paul Fryer.
For the time being.
They'd received your beep, 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 SOS beacon across the universe.
Maybe, or was it just that...
Sent someone down to deal
It could have been, I thought about it a lot, and it could have been temporal lobe epilepsy.
Yeah, it could have been something medical.
When people have temporal lobe epilepsy, it's called petit mal, not grand mal fit. So people just gap out. They just kind of like go blank. And they often have visions when that happens. And a guy called Persinger actually recorded the EEGs of people who are having these petit mal fits and then played them back using magnets on the head. And he was able to give people religious experiences in that way.
With magnets on
With magnets on their heads connected up to an EEG machine, playing it back like a tape recorder. And if you don't believe me, Google it. And not only that, the only person, loads of people went into...
That's not giving them a religious experience. That's with two magnets on their head.
No, people. It was a cluster of magnets, actually, not just two, connected up to a computer. And everybody who went in the room said they had the sense presence. A lot of people had the sense, this other in the room with them. But then some people had a full-blown religious experience.
Was it the nurse?
No. And the one person went along there, and they plugged him into this machine, and he felt absolutely nothing. The only person who felt absolutely nothing, guess who it was?
I don't know.
Richard Dawkins. He went along, and he said, it doesn't work, I don't feel a fucking thing. There is no sense to there's nothing.
Right. Well, that makes... I think I've probably been in his camp.
Hmm?
I don't think you can create it where you might.
How do you know?
Well, because I trust Richard Dawkins, but also, what a stupid...
Richard Dawkins is an atheist.
I know, I'm aware of that. But what is stupid waste of electricity and magnets? You could be...
Oh yeah, it's such a waste of electricity and magnets.
You could be picking up nails.
I'd like to see you do something interesting with some electricity and some magnets, Guy.
Distributing it amongst young lads, and they can pick nails up on string.
Well, that's fucking amazing.
Not pretend you're trying to get a religious experience out of tying magnets around your head.
He wasn't doing research into religious experience. He was doing research into temporal lobe epilepsy. Do keep up.
Thank you.
And that was a byproduct of it.
Have it your way.
I only told you this, Guy, because I thought it was interesting.
It was quite interesting. It was quite interesting. Quite.
Well, excuse me. Shall I say something more interesting?
What else have you got now?
Well, I want something from you now, Mr. Fucking Interesting. And this better be fucking interesting, by the way.
It's of a different
hang on a minute, let me just get comfortable. Okay, proceed.
Get your notebook
Come on.
so you can mark.
No, I don't need a fucking notebook. Come on.
No, so I was away, and some people got in touch with me. So could they come and...
Oh, sorry, Guy.
I was in Jamaica.
Sorry, what were you saying?
I was in Jamaica.
Oh, you were in Jamaica again?
I was in Jamaica.
We're back in fucking Jamaica again.
Okay,
For God's sake, change the record.
That's where I was last week. And some people got in touch and said, we're on holiday here, can we come and say hello to you?
Uh-huh.
They were a German family. And...
Were they atheists?
We didn't discuss religion, although We got on.
So, in other words, you're
accidentally
just
to the
dropping this in
Holocaust.
apropos of nothing. It has got.
Oh no, it's not got a religious dimension.
So, in that case, you've just completely derailed this
No, you didn't.
conversation,
You said, say
so that
something
you can
interesting.
put some little anecdote in that you've been thinking about since we started this conversation, because you had no real intention of engaging with any part.
What it was a moral dilemma.
No, you just didn't want. Oh,
No, I guess give you something along the lines of religion, and I thought a slightly more applicable, a slightly more practical.
I'm sorry, I told you that now.
Application of
I
it.
told you something that I've never
just got
told
this
anyone of.
picture of her. Oh, I see, of your thing.
Yeah.
I thought you meant the magnets around.
Oh,
the head.
that. Oh, that.
That
Yes.
You.
My life-changing experience.
Well, Paul,
You just brush off. No, do continue about your fascinating
I
experience.
can see that I've touched a bit of a nerve there. So
No, you haven't touched
Should we
a
go
nerve.
back and discuss it a bit more? Tell me about the field. Was it quite?
No.
Was it quite steep, the field that you were brushed over by something that you couldn't see?
There was a point to what I was saying about the Persinger
Did
research.
you possibly trip?
No.
You didn't trip
No.
over?
Do you know what the
You did
Persinger...
not
Part of
trip
the
over and bang
Persinger...
your head.
Part of the irrelevant Persinger magnets and wires research that you dismissed so
Deferred.
summarily, part of that was that he discovered that it was possible for magnetic fields to alter perception by inducing microcurrents in the temporal lobes of the brain. Now, what if the land itself, we know the Earth has a magnetic field, but what if there are hotspots in the magnetic field in certain places? That could cause people to have religious experiences, not just on their own, but en masse. And it could possibly explain why people, for instance, have visions of the Virgin Mary in a certain place. That's all I was saying to you. But you wouldn't have known that because you were too busy telling me about your jaunt.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's get back.
It's all right. I'm not angry or annoyed or anything, Guy. I'm just disappointed.
Anyway, this German family.
Go on then.
This German family came round and they were bourgeois Germans.
Haven't you had enough of tormenting Germans yet?
No, not tormenting them. They were very nice, well turned out, extremely polite. Bought me a bottle of nice wine, and were frankly appalled by Jamaica. And
Were they?
And the general slovenliness.
Because the black people.
Slovenliness of the. I don't think it was racist. Just the slovenliness of the government, the potholes.
Kind of racist.
Well, I don't know. I think I put it like this. I think if we'd been in Ireland or somewhere, or no, I'm not saying Ireland. It's not really fair. But of this,
Yeah, plenty of people have been racist about the Irish guy.
No, they were just general remarks about how badly run Jamaica is, and I think even the Jamaicans agree on that. and you know, I took him back to his hotel with his wife and his 2 children, and it was an all-inclusive hotel, which we discussed a lot about. And I opened up the boot for him to get their stuff out, their swimming trunks, because they'd been swimming, and they took them out, and there were 2 hotel towels in the boot, and he looked at me and said, do you want 2 towels? I could just leave them there. Meaning, do you want to be involved in stealing 2 towels from this hotel? And I went, do you understand the situation?
Dirty German
Well,
bastard.
hold on. And I remember thinking, he's managed to lure me into
An immoral...
into moral dilemma, because I said, no, not really. They were wet for a start. And they got to like a problem.
Were they ugly, Guy?
Get a sandy...
Admit it, were they ugly?
They weren't particularly nice towels. So I said,
They weren't particularly nice.
Well, they were, big hotel towels,
Yeah.
They weren't wide.
No.
They were blue, swimming pool towels. And I said, I think I'm okay for towels. And he went, no. Well, I can just leave them there. They're not doing any trouble. And kind of winked at me and thought, no, they're so easy to steal. Why don't you just steal them? So I just slammed the boot and said, and then I started thanking him for the towels. And I thought, you're in a right muddle here, Guy. You should never have accepted these towels. And now this German who had been...
He's tricked you.
In a way, it felt like that. He'd tricked me into doing something naughty.
Immoral.
But I don't know if he was trying just to be kind. I just thought...
No, he was trying to provoke you to find out what you were made of, and you let the side down.
I
Guy.
definitely let the side down. And that's why I bring it up, Paul, because I'm feeling a bit guilty and I'd like to confess it to my moral superior.
There is a way around this.
Go and get the towels and post them to him.
Not him, just take them back to the hotel.
God, you're a genius. You're a genius. That's what I shall do. I shall have them laundered, folded,
Yes.
and I shall take them back.
And now get a photograph taken of you handing them back to the hotel. Stick that on the back of a postcard and send it to whatever his name is.
Yes. He was a very nice man. He took a dim view of Jamaica, though, I can see that.
Racist.
No, I don't think it is racist. They are very, very disorganised. better organised. You know what the Germans are like. They like things to run tickety-boo.
Yeah, well.
To be all in. He said that in the all-inclusive hotel, they had some remarks to make about the behaviour of the British. We have noticed one thing in the hotel. I said, what? They said, there is rather a lot of drug taking. So I said, well, what do you mean? They said, well, you can smell the smell of marijuana. So I said, but this is Jamaica. That's what most of the people in the hotel are here for. And he went, oh, really? So I said, have you tried something? No. I said, I'm amazed that you find that it's like going to Germany and getting shocked to see people drinking beer. You know, what planet have you been on? And I did think how naive they were.
I quite like the Germans, though. I know they've been naughty and everything, but haven't we all? We invented the concentration camp, after all, not them.
Mm-hmm.
The British have done some terrible things. The genocide of the Irish, for a start. Don't look at me like that.
We've discussed this already.
Well, I'm just saying.
It's not such a big important. It's not such a good talk. Let's talk about something bigger, something more important.
Your head. Guy's in the newspaper.
I'm in the newspaper today, yeah, and I got called arrogant. I think.
What else did you get called?
I don't know. Arrogant is the one that stuck out. It's not a particularly nice thing. But, you know, if you're trying to get...
Likeable, I think you were called as well.
Oh, did I say that? Oh, God. The truth is that I started reading it and couldn't read it. So I asked Paul to read and to give me a quick précis report. And I don't know what... Anyway, there we are.
It's mainly about your book, though. It's all right.
Yeah.
How much did you pay her?
I tell you what I should... It's Lynn Barber who interviewed me, who is... People don't know. She's I think you call her a veteran. Wouldn't you?
Yeah, a stalwart.
And she interviewed absolutely everybody for the Sunday Times. So everybody, lots and lots of interviews for the Sunday Times. She probably did them every week for years. And she has a technique where normally what she does is she comes in and she sums the person up. She's quite rude about them, and then by the end of the interview says, actually I quite like them. That's normally what she does, her technique. Some people she doesn't do the bit at the end. Jake and Dinos, I remember. It was just an absolute. It was an out and out attack.
Oh yeah, they don't like her, do they?
For 1,500 words, and then without that. But they're lovable lads, and actually, you know, they don't really mean it. And underneath it, they're sweethearts. Which is what you were expecting to come to. You got to the last paragraph and it stopped, and you thought, hold on, where's
it? Was like
where's
last line was a pair of cunts. Full stop.
She has got a reputation of being quite nasty, but if you want to get the newspapers, you have to play by their rules. And she was coming to talk about my book, which is coming out in a bit. It's called Time to Go. I'm not really allowed to do that, am I? I feel like I'm plugging.
Oh, no, it's good.
It is something that we are...
I've read the book and it's really good.
Paul knows you'd lie, you haven't read it.
I have.
You said you hadn't got to the end.
I still haven't reached the end.
That is not reading the book.
Well,
Paul.
it is. It's there.
Not. You can't say... Well,
all right, I'm just going to finish it now.
You can't say I've read your book and you've not read it to the end. That's just like saying... you can say, I read a bit of your book.
Guy, no, I've read your book means I picked it up and read it.
Listen, it does hurt a bit.
Did I say, have I read all your book? No. I didn't say I've read all your book, did I?
But
why did I not finish reading the book? Because you took the manuscript off me.
If your really close friend to you says, I read your book, you think it implies you read from the first...
You took the manuscript off me.
But you got a book back. Immediately, I replaced it with a book.
No, not immediately.
But I tell you this, Paul, and it's only a small thing.
I lost my thread.
If and when you write a book, I promise I will read it from beginning to end. When I say read it, I guess that means the odd sentence in the middle. I will read that.
Guy!
And Paul, actually, you better write it, because you're interviewing me about the book in a few weeks' time.
I know that. I've read most of it.
I would prefer it if
I've
you had
literally
actually
just
read
got
it.
the last...
If you haven't read it, I'm going to expose you to the audience of not having read the book.
I've just got the last chapter to read, that's all.
I'm going to test you on the
book.
book.
For God's sake, Guy. You are arrogant, aren't you?
No.
This building, Guy, is quite big. You know, this is quite a big house. But there's one thing I always have difficulty fitting in here.
There we go. I can feel there's
your ego.
Do you think my ego is out of control?
No.
I think that the ego is a very important.
I just said that
because
someone once said that about me.
Did they?
Yeah.
I don't think your ego is out of control.
I don't either. It's weird. It's a weird thing to say.
No, I think a lot of people...
A famous artist said that about me. It's just bizarre. I don't know why.
I don't think that's true of you. You can say, if I was going to insult you, I'd go in many other different directions.
I know you would. You already have. Go on then. Go on. Try.
No, I'm not
try
going to.
me.
I don't.
Go
I
on.
love you. I love you. I don't want to insult you.
But you've already thought about what you would say, though, if you were going to.
I don't know. But no, I wouldn't say that. But I think a lot of people's egos are too small.
Do you?
Yeah, and I think they'd be happier if they
had more of an
themselves-
ego.
Yeah, if they just said it's not actually evil or wrong to have.
Maybe
an ego.
I need to get my ego back.
I think that too much, I agree, is not very nice for all concerned. But too little is sad. I see, particularly, I have to say, is this a sexist remark? I particularly find women with very underdeveloped egos. Common, I think, for all people, but I see it in women more.
Common women?
No, commonly, I mean.
Don't you?
No, nothing to do with common. I'm just saying, amongst other things. Amongst
snob.
No, it's not. It's just twisted my words there. It was not fair. The listener, I don't know. But, I mean, I see it in men and women.
Sorry, Guy, I'm
but
only
probably
joking.
more women than men, I think. And I think a little bit more swagger. As they say in Jamaica, they have swagger. Someone said to Vinton, you are overweight, extremely ugly. You've got some fingers missing. You've got a drink problem. How is it that he told me this, how is it that you always have the most beautifulest girls? And he said, I said, well, what did you answer? What is the secret? And he went, swagger. And I said, that's so true. Swagger. And the thing is that swagger, it's easy to criticise swagger. You know, look at him, he's very pleased with himself. It's so easy to knock it down. But it's fun to have around people who've got a bit of ego and a bit of swagger, a bit of a peacock or, tiny bit. It's not, I tell you, I don't really like it. There's too much swagger in someone too young is annoying. You want to trip them over.
Yeah.
The kind of young man of 22. I don't want to just put my foot out and just watch him take a perler across the restaurant as he goes past my table. But if you can back it up with a bit, some love, some humour.
And some chat.
Yeah. And then I think swagger is good.
Have I got swagger?
You got some swagger.
I think I've lost my swagger. I've lost my mojo.
Okay, tell me about it.
I just have.
When? From when?
When I lost my studio.
So what's that, about a year ago?
Yeah.
Do you think the swagger and the studio were connected, or just something happened and both went at the same time?
No, it was the last in a long line of bad things that happened, and it just left me feeling a little bit, quite a lot actually. I was very low after it happened, and I feel a bit better now, but it's not so good because I want to work again, but I don't want to get in the situation I was in last time. So I don't feel confident about making moves in case things end up the same. So I'm having to get used to the less than satisfactory position of waiting. I think a lot of artists have this problem though, because even if you're making a lot of art, even if you've got a lot of shows and stuff, what a lot of artists won't say and won't talk about is that it's very unusual for a great volume of your work to sell all the time. And you have periods where that happens. But the norm is for very few things to sell over protracted periods of time.
Absolutely.
Which means that you end up with an estate. Otherwise, if that wasn't the case, then
you end up with a what?
An estate, the artist's estate when they die. If that wasn't the case, then all these artists' estate would be nothing. But they're not. They're huge quantities of work, which for one reason or another were either kept back or didn't sell or whatever. And they become the estate of the artist at the end of their life. So it's not unusual, but no one talks about it. Nobody talks about that because it's like the swan effect, like the Instagram effect. You're not allowed to show the working out. You're not allowed to show the difficulty of it. You're just supposed to just coast along the surface, and everything looks seamless and perfect.
Yeah, absolutely, totally dreadful, boring, and kind of absolutely hopeless.
Irritating.
Yeah.
Disingenuous.
Yeah, absolutely. Just how people can do it. And it's one thing to look at Instagram, but to actually spend your time styling your life. And when I was at the airport, I noticed it going on so much.
Really?
Yeah, what people were doing is they're going to expensive boutiques, right? And And they would go into, I don't know if it was Burberry or Gucci, it was selling one of those places, and they'd put the bag on their arm, and then their mate would take a photograph of them with the airport in the background. And even though they were in a shop and they were just picking the bag up, it looked like they were going on holiday. And I just thought, you're stealing from yourselves doing that. That is such. Or is it just perfectly acceptable fun?
Is it just playful?
Is it just playful fun?
I know what you mean, though. I think it is quite poisonous. And that's why I like...
They may have said, oh, it's just a game, but actually they were genuinely trying to get some people to think that they could afford a £2,000 handbag and go on holiday. That was the aim of it.
What were they doing in the airport if they weren't going on holiday?
Well, yeah, but I mean, they were going on,
EasyJet to Torremolinos or something.
Whatever, and they wanted it to look like Beyonce coming off her private jet. Because I bet she does it as well. I have no idea. People who take photographs of themselves in those enviable situations, that to me is like, whoa, you shouldn't be doing that. That is horrible showing off, and it's a dangerous thing for you to do, and it's very tasteless to have photographs.
Did you go and tell them off?
I did, yeah. Slapped.
Slapped their legs. You silly girls.
No, I didn't. I should have. But they were even in the airplane. I saw them doing it in first class. The people from economy sidled all the way up to first class and then took a quick selfie of themselves in first class.
Oh no, that's so sad.
Well, I don't know. Or is it just playful silliness? But it kind of... Well, certainly the values that informed that photograph and that whole activity were just so pathetic. Because I thought, oh God, it feels like because you're in economy, you can't be having as good a time as the people in first class. And they look like quite fun, actually, these two. And I thought they're probably having much more fun than most people in first class.
Well, do you think it would be all right, for instance, then, I'm going to ask you a variation on this from a man's point of view. If you were to go, let's say you're in the airport and you went into, what's that food outlet that sells kind of vaguely Japanesey sort of food at the office?
Yo Sushi. Good food in there.
Itsu.
So
let's say you were a man and you went into Itsu, right, in the airport, and then when no one was looking, you got your knob out and took a selfie of your knob with that in the foreground and the airport in the background. Do you think that's acceptable?
Yeah, I do. It's because it's not...
And put it on Instagram.
Yeah, because it's not about your status. It's about a whole other subject. It's not trying to kind of lie about.
So
your
that's
status.
all right.
In a way, it's debasing your.
See, this is really weird, guys. So that's all right.
Childish thing to do.
That's all right, but taking a selfie of yourself with an expensive handbag isn't.
Well,
that's how fucked up you are.
Please don't get into a silly either-or argument. It's that no one's putting them in it. They're not in opposition. It's not one or the other. But I suppose what I think is...
I never said you had to do it.
Because what your knob doesn't do is start talking about that you're in a higher state. I guess, Matt, your knob, I don't know. I've never seen your knob, but maybe your knob is very first class.
Go faster, Stripe.
Very Gucci. It's a $3,000 Gucci one. I have no idea. But
$3,000 Gucci knob.
But anyhow, my knob, it's just a knob. But it's not. You're not trying to say, look, my knob's better than your knob.
Well, you might be.
Not, with that, no, yeah, but you're not trying
if
to
you're
say...
In it, well, you're in it, so you're not in it. You're not in it.
I'm an absolutely silly, bored, naughty little
All right,
boy.
if you did it in first class.
Then, that's the whole thing, is you shouldn't be taking photographs in first class.
With your knob out?
With anything, really. I guess, why are we taking photographs on an aeroplane?
Because people don't travel first class, guy, and they want a little bit of that to rub off on them.
I'm happy in being economy. I'm really happy in that. Got no problem with that at all.
First class is overrated. I always like to fly coach whenever possible.
If I can. If I can get a seat.
If they've room for me.
If I can get a seat.
Preferably by the blues. Yeah. It's always the most entertaining place on the plane, don't you find? When I used to work for Fendi, they used to fly me first class. When you fly first class to Milan, it's like a 737 or something, so it's a tiny aeroplane. And the only thing is, there's just like a little curtain.
I know, it's
It's the same.
He's on the other side.
And it's such a great example of class division of of the way we want to stratify ourselves.
Yeah.
Just with a nylon curtain and 500 quid extra. And it works because they're always full.
Yeah.
There's always got people in them. Mm-hmm. Always got people in them.
Weird, isn't it?
Yeah. And I tell you when it really started going wrong though for first class on into European flights, the short flights, is when they started putting the curtain pelmet, the curtain rail on runners so they could run it back and forward down the plane.
Oh no.
And then the transparency, but it was just too
wait a minute.
Like, wait a minute.
They don't really do that.
Yeah, they do now. If you go on a plane, you'll see that you can just run it back.
Are you fucking joking?
Yeah. We managed to sell. We got 6 suckers in. We've got 14 suckers in this today on this flight. Run the curtain back.